Hey everyone, it's a new season, and that means we need some new money makers. Now, the first one I want to highlight this season is essence farming. Essence farming has been tried and tested, and in the past, it's even farmed me a mage blood by day 3. I absolutely recommend it. I cannot speak enough good things about it, and if you know me, you know how much I love my essences. It's the easiest way to farm a lot of money on basically any builds. You don't really need to have that decent of a build to do this, and it's super comfortable since we're basically only just going to do tier 1 or 2 maps. Let's talk about our passive tree and then we can go over some other things after. The way I'm going to describe this passive tree is going to be from a Leaguestart perspective and how you want to path through this to be able to unlock this farm and make money as soon as possible. First up, we're going to come through the middle and immediately pick up Shaping the Mountains and Shaping the Skies. This just gives us map sustain and this gives us more map drops so we can go faster. Then we're going to come pick up Expert Reconnaissance and Commissioned Officer. This gives us Karak missions, and it's going to give us more maps, and we can abuse the shop harder to be able to progress faster. And of course, Shaping the Sea, Shaping the Valleys. This is just a standard map progression package that you basically always want at the start of a season to go as fast as possible. Once we have all this, we're going to be able to progress really fast. We only need about 40 more points to be able to start doing essences. And we're going to start that off by picking up Prolific Essence, Guaranteed Essence. This makes us a little bit of money. Might allow you to get an upgrade here too. Then we're going to start rushing towards Amplified Energies. This is where the money is going to really start kicking in since we can now get Shrieking Essences, and every essence in general will be a tier higher. And with Crystal Resonance, if a monster has a Shrieking Essence, it's going to duplicate itself to get double the essences for that monster. We want both of the sides to Crystal Resonance. The right side gives us Remnants of Corruption, which allow us to corrupt essences. We're going to be doing that under very specific circumstances to get more money out of our essences, and the left side gives us more essences overall. Lastly, we're going to pick up Crystal Lattice in the small point up here. This is going to give us a 15% chance to turn essences into raid fights, but that means those essences are going to also give us even more money. With all this selected, on average, you're going to see maybe about 5 to 10 chaos per essence monster you kill, which is a very good profit considering you'll be seeing 5 and sometimes even 6 of these per map. Next up, we would want to block every single mechanic. Essences count as extra content, and all of these blockings give us 2% extra chance at essences. Since we're doing low tier maps, there's no reason to do any of these mechanics. They all scale with map tier. And in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 maps, they're simply not going to be worth your time, and it's just better to get more essence chance. Then we're going to want to come over here to Stream of Consciousness, 50% increased chance for essences, which is great. We're not going to be using fragments or scarabs anyway, so this doesn't really change anything for us. We can then connect on the right side and drop all of the Kirak related nodes, as at this point we're basically done progressing. At this point, you can choose to either pick up the shrine package if you really want to. This is going to make you have to do an extra 15 maps or so to get all the shrine nodes, or you can not get all that glitters and simply just get Drawn to Power, Synchronism, and Supplication. This will allow you to go through maps faster. You'll be a little bit tinkier. This is up to you. It's completely optional, but if you don't want to, this is all you need. Just 69 points to be ready to farm maps and to ready to start making a lot of money. Let's talk about the setup. So essences do not scale with level. A tier 16 essence monster is going to have the same exact essences as a tier 1 monster. The only difference is a tier 16 monster is substantially scarier than a tier 1 monster. That means we want to do low tier maps. Ideally, we want to stick in white maps. So we're going to do tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 maps. And because these are low tier maps, unfortunately, it's a little bit hard to sustain them. So you are going to have to buy quite a lot of maps. The thing is, we're making so much money from this that is completely okay. On average, as I said, each essence monster is worth at least 5 chaos. That means if we buy all of our maps for 5 chaos, then we are not losing that much money considering we'll be making around 40 chaos per map. So feel free to look for good white tier layouts that you like doing and buy those at whatever price that is comfortable. It's a little bit difficult for me to give recommendations as I do not know where all of the maps will be after the reshuffle, as I'm recording this before we are given all the map tiers, which only happens a day or two before the season. But what I can recommend is look at low white tier maps and find some good layouts. Some examples might be Phantasmagoria, Strand, if it's still a low tier map. Crimson Temple is okay if you enjoy doing Crimson Temple, Shore, Atoll, and so on and so forth. What I'm trying to tell you here is to not do a map like Residence or to not do a map like Laboratory. Things that are going to be kind of annoying to farm, things that are going to make you have to backtrack or go in different hallways are bad for this. We want to explore the whole map as fast as possible. Then we immediately want to leave and do the next map as soon as we get all of our essence monsters. Since these are low tier maps, the map bosses basically do not give you anything. From my personal test of doing a few hundred of these maps for Mageblade, it is not worth killing the map boss. Simply get your essences and you immediately leave. So try to look for good layouts. I personally really like doing Strand. I'm going to do Strand if it is available again this season as a low tier map. And if you have a map that you like, that's maybe a yellow map, a tier 7, tier 8 map, if you feel comfortable doing that, you can. It's just the essence monsters are going to be a lot scarier. So you might have to be careful with that. So while running your maps and running around collecting all of your free money, there is something we could do to earn a little bit more, and that is using the Remnants of Corruption. Now, what the Remnant Corruption does is it will either upgrade all the essences on the monster by +1, it will randomly reroll everything, or it will upgrade some essences into special essences that are worth a lot of money. There's a pretty simple rule set to follow on what to Remnant Corruption. First off, you're going to want to Remnant Corruption the 4 purple essences. If you see purple, immediately click. It does not matter what else is on the monster, just immediately click on purple. These, Scorn, Envy, Misery, and Dread, can be potentially corrupted into the 4 special ones: Insanity, Horror, Delirium, and Hysteria. And all of these are worth anywhere between 15 to 25 chaos, making this always worth the press. And especially if you get lucky and you get another Shrieking Essence on that Essence monster, that means you could potentially get 2 of the special essences and instantly just make anywhere between 30 to 40 chaos. Other than that, you are going to want to corrupt every single greed you see. If you see a Shrieking Greed, immediately corrupt it, as Deafening Greed is one of the most valuable and one of the most wanted essences on the market typically. And the same goes for Loathing. If you ever see any Screaming or Shrieking Loathing, it is always immediately worth it to upgrade, as this is a very in demand essence as soon as day 1 and day 2. This season, we can also now start doing Shrieking Essences of Torment. These give you a chance to avoid being shocked on belts, which are popular for Stormshroud builds, and these will go for a pretty large margin. Other than that, if you ever see an essence monster with 3 to 4 plus essences, it's always worth hitting it, as on average, you are earning a chaos to 2 chaos worth of extra value from corrupting, but you don't want to waste them on an essence monster that has 1 or 2 essences, for example. Some other good targets is if you see a bunch of green or a bunch of yellow orangish essences, those are typically not worth much. And it's good to corrupt those with the hopes of it re-rolling into things that are worth something. All of this will be in the description if you want a written out version of how to corrupt things. It might take you a little bit to memorize, but after you do maybe 10, 20 maps, it should come pretty easily to you and you shouldn't really have to think too much about it. As long as you're getting the purple ones, as long as you're getting greed, as long as you're getting loathing, that's all you need to do. The rest of it doesn't really matter. It's just those 3 cases will substantially increase your profitability. Now that you've run a bunch of maps and you have a bunch of essences, let's talk about what you'd actually do with them. So at the start of a season, with the exception of Loathing, nobody wants Deafening essences. They're the biggest tier. Typically, people just want Shrieking because they're just good enough and people aren't going to make insane crafts, nor do they want to pay the premium of Deafening essences. And because of that, the bulk that people are going to want is Shrieking. So we're going to upgrade every single essence that we get all the way up to Shrieking. Anything below that is not worth anything and it's not going to sell at all. Once you have all of your essences upgraded to Shrieking, then we can talk about selling them. You have 2 ways of potentially selling them. One, you can either make your essence tab public and sell them this way, but you do not want to simply, for example, if Contempt is worth 2 chaos, you do not want to simply put it for exact price 2 chaos. This means that if someone wants to buy 3 essences, they'll message you for it and you'll get flooded with a bunch of small trades that you do not want to do. You have to remember, this is a high frequency mapping strategy where you want to do a lot of maps very quickly to earn the most profit. So what you're going to want to do instead is you are going to want to put a fractional price. So for example, I'm going to put 18 out of 9 for my greeds. What this does is it sets them to 2 chaos, but people will only be able to buy them in stacks of 9. The way to read this is you want 18 chaos or 18 whatever you have set for 9 of however many you're willing to sell. So people will only be able to message me to buy these in full stacks. And people will definitely message you for these. And this saves you from having to deal with all the tiny spam of people wanting to buy smaller bulk. Nice thing as well is if you somehow go under 9, for example, here I have 7, it'll actually delist your offering, but it will keep the price. And as soon as you put some more essences in here and go back up over 9, it'll show it back up on the trade website, making it so you don't have to fiddle with this every single time. This will take a little bit to look at every single essence and price them that way. But if you want to make the most money, that is a very good way of doing it. Your other option, which I highly recommend you do instead, is to use TFT and use their bulk tool to do this substantially faster. The way you would do this is you would log in to their website and simply pick your essence tab. For me, it is E. Then you simply select high essence. Do not select normal essence. This will add all the tiny essences in, which nobody wants to buy. And then you simply put your price. This is a percent of PoE Ninja price, which gets updated about every few hours. Typically, these at the start of the season go from anywhere between 100 to 95 to 90. You will have to look around a little bit and see what people are selling them for. But let's just say we want to do at 100. What this will do is it will look at my essence tab and automatically select every single high essence, which is all of my deafenings, all of my special essences, and all of my shriekings, and simply price them at whatever I set my price to. You then put your name in here. As we can see, I have 45 div worth of essences. I will click generate image, wait a second, then simply come to TFT under this will say Crucible, Softcore, Bulk Want to Sell. Find the essence section of it, and you will paste that image in there. Click generate text. You'll then paste the text in here, and then you just hit enter. And what this will do is it will put your listing up in this channel. And if someone wants to buy your essences, they will message you for them. People in this channel are fiends. If you, for example, put this at even 95 or 90, you will probably get 4 to 5 people messaging you within seconds looking to buy your essences off of you. This saves you from having to do a lot of small trades. And for example, let's say I sold them at 90%. That means I'd lose 10% of the total value. But let's say I do that on one trade of someone wanting to buy absolutely everything. That saves myself maybe 10, 20 minutes of smaller trades and constantly having to leave my map and having people not respond and people leave party and all the typical non fun things that you have to deal with while trading. Doing everything in one trade is substantially easier and substantially faster, where all that time that I gain, I can now actually make substantially more money than I would have made if I sat here and did single trades. Lastly, let's talk about the profitability of this. It's hard for me to give you exact numbers since it is pre-season that I'm doing all this. But personally, I would say I'm probably one of the most experienced people with essences given how I do them every single season. And if you want my rough estimate of your income, I think day 2 to day 3, this will be anywhere between 4 div to 3 div an hour, depending on the demand. But I think past day 3 and day 4, day 5, especially with essences being available on the Atlas, you can easily expect a consistent 4 to 5 div an hour with absolutely no problems. The nice thing about the strategy is essences are in such high demand that no matter how many of you cuties go and do this method, you will not be able to overflood the market. People will just want, and the demand for essences is simply higher than pretty much anyone can supply to the market. So if 20,000 of us go do the strategy, we will all make the same money and we will not screw each other over. This strategy is pretty overcrowding proof. So if you do not have any other strategy you want to do and you want to make a consistent 4 to 5 div an hour, which is, in my opinion, very good money this early into the season, do a strategy and have some fun with it. I think you'll have a great time and I think you'll make a lot of money. That's all I really have to say for the strategy. If you have any questions, I do stream on Twitch and you can come by and ask your questions there, or you can leave them in the comments and I'll happily answer you whenever I can. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you in future videos and future guides.